hamba hamba walulu balanda kanjani hamba uzobalanda kanjani hamba umalula zobalanda kanjani hamba umalula zobalanda kanjani hamba umalula zobalanda kanjani
Amandla
hamba
Amandla Viva ANC viva Viva ANC viva Roar young lions roar Roar young lions roar Viva President Malachi viva Viva President Malachi viva Viva ANC Youth League viva Thank you very much Comrade Deputy President of the Youth League, Comrade Malachi, President of the ANC Youth League, Comrade Zakani Shiviti, Secretary General, Zama Kanyase, First Deputy Secretary General, Comrade Venus Blenis Machache, Second Deputy Secretary General, Comrade Jacob Tau, Treasurer General, members of the National Executive Committee of the Youth League, members of the National Executive Committee, provincial leaders of the ANC Youth League, distinguished guests, our veterans present here, and I saw the chairperson of the Integrity Commission, Reverend Frank Chikani, and a comrade Playfair Murule, also from the Free State, but a leader of our movement and an ex-Robben Islander, Umkhonto Wesizwe, ex-combatant, comrades and compatriots. This Lekgotla, comrades, takes place against the backdrop of the 2026 local government elections. At a time when our movement is contending with headwinds both at home and in geopolitics. I have no doubt that this Lekgotla dealt exhaustively with the challenges facing our movement and the critical role the ANC Youth League will play in delivering an overwhelming electoral victory and unwinding the trust deficit between our movement and the electorate. We must always, comrades, be guided by the wisdom of President Oliver Tambo, who taught us that the ANC, I quote, is a living organism that has grown out of struggle, close quote. This understanding must underpin our efforts as we put our best foot forward in rebuilding the trust of our people in the ANC in the 8 months remaining before the 2026 local government elections. The 2024 general elections represented what we characterize as a strategic setback for the National Democratic Revolution, putting us in a position that required tactical maneuvers to retain state power so we can advance the transformation agenda and advancing the tasks of the National Democratic Revolution. Comrades, the creation of a government of national unity is a tactical maneuver, and within that, it does not mean we are locked only to those who are working with currently. It can change if the conditions permit and certain things change. But it does not mean that being in that driving seat will change, because the 40% will never change. What can change is people who constitute government of national unity. It's a tactical intervention. But what will not change is the ANC at the helm of that particular government of national unity. The reductionist and distorted view that seeks to elevate GNU as a strategic intervention, and at the same time to say it is a beginning and the end, I think must be corrected from time to time. We did not drop below 50% because our ideals had been defeated. Our voters stayed away because in too many communities our people could no longer see the ANC in their daily lives. Comrades, in the areas where we live, and the people who vote for us did not come out in their numbers. It did not mean that our ideals are defeated. You are the youth, you can debate with me about that. They no longer felt the presence of a leader of society to champion their needs and aspirations. Instead, they saw potholes. They experienced dry taps without water. They saw queues at clinics and uncollected refuse at their gates. If we are to decisively tackle this existential crisis, we must be honest about the challenges that confront the movement and society today. Tomorrow, since the roll call and the adoption of the 10-point plan on local government, the top 6 of the ANC at 11:30 will brief the country about how far we have gone since the roll call on the 10-point plan and fixing local government. We're now talking concrete. We had intended tomorrow morning to go to Soweto and Johannesburg to talk to issues of service delivery that have been driven within the coalition of Johannesburg, like transformers, how we attend to the question of electricity, water, and all of that. But we decided not to do it because they are going to say we're panicking because of Helen Zille. But tomorrow we'll do that, but we'll announce a program which will start somewhere but end up in Johannesburg, in the metros. There's a soft launch of our campaign. So tomorrow, the top 7 of the ANC will do that, because when we did the roll call, we said to our people who will report bi-monthly about the interventions we are making. And we have made a lot of intervention, including changing in municipalities, some of the mayors and all of that. And therefore, there's also been, as much as there are challenges, recorded progress in some of the municipalities. Comrades, Amilcar Cabral remind us of the duty to be honest with our people, with his profound words when he said, "Hide nothing from the masses of our people, tell no lies, expose lies whenever they are told, mask no difficulties, mistakes, failures, claim no easy victories." Comrades, the task of renewal cannot be rooted in sentiment. The January 8th statement make an unequivocal commitment that organizational renewal must be visible and irreversible. The Ipsos research, the Human Sciences Research Council studies, and our own organizational renewal diagnostic paint a picture we must confront. Community trust in municipalities has collapsed by 26 percentage points since 2019. In 2019, 68% of South Africans believed their municipality was capable of improvement. Today, that figure stands at just 38%. This means 6 out of every 10 citizens have lost faith in the ability of local government to change their lives. The Ipsos findings tell us unambiguously that service delivery performance now determines electoral outcomes more than party loyalty. In all 8 of our metropolitan municipalities, ward level voter turnout declined by more than 20% between 2016 and 2021. Cumulatively 27%. These are working class communities, township voters, ANC voters, who stayed at home in 2024. The youth picture is even more sobering. More than 14 million young South Africans who are eligible to vote are not registered. Among those registered, turnout among voters under 30 fell below 40% in 2024. This is not a crisis of voter apathy. It is a crisis of meaning. Our young people are asking whether democracy has delivered, whether the ANC still speaks their language, and whether their vote will change anything about unemployment that now stands at over 60%. And for those aged 15 to 24. This is the trust deficit we must close, comrades. This is the lost ground we must reclaim. Let us not be under no illusion about the terrain on which we will fight the 2026 local government elections. Our 257 municipalities are in varying states of distress. The Interministerial Committee report on local government presented to the NEC confirms that 35 municipalities are classified as distressed. 161 are at risk and only 61 are stable. Irregular expenditure across the system exceeds 30 billion annually. 14 municipalities currently face ESCOM disconnection. Non-revenue water exists 40% in most municipalities. Electricity losses stand at 20 to 30%. In our 8 metros, which are home to 42% of South Africa's population and generate 60% of national GDP, we see a concerning service delivery track record. Nelson Mandela Bay achieved a service delivery index of 35%. Johannesburg has had 7 mayors in 5 years. Tshwane has had 6 mayors in 4 years. Coalition instability in 4 of our 8 metros has produced leadership turnover every 12 to 18 months, making it impossible to plan, to build, or to maintain. Comrades, 65% of the ANC's voter base resides in metropolitan municipalities. There is no path to electoral victory in 2026 that does not require decisive interventions in the metros. And there is no credible campaign in the metros that is not accompanied by visible, measurable service delivery improvements in the next 8 months. It is precisely this understanding that has informed our approach to deploy officials to the metros. It is equally this reality that has informed our government to initiate Section 154 interventions in Nelson Mandela Bay and Buffalo City, with 850 million in emergency funding for Nelson Mandela Bay and 450 million for Buffalo City. This is equally the reason we are pursuing 2.5 billion in emergency infrastructure repairs across all 8 metros. Through government interventions, we have set concrete targets. Water supply reliability, moving from 60% to 85%, electricity outages reduced by 40%, waste collection regularized, and 100,000 potholes repaired before voters go to the ballot box. These are the deliverables, comrades, that will decide our fate. But comrades, we can have all these things done and dusted, and as we are doing them now, and people will still say, we've got no faith in the ANC. And why is it like that? It is because the national discourse and the narrative is not controlled or influenced by us. Our people are victims of artificial intelligence, TikTok, distortions and all of that. Social media agenda remains negative. So you do all these things, but the agenda you are not controlling. And why is the Youth League not closing that gap? If you look at the EFF and the Youth League, they are equals. EFF is not equal the ANC, it's equal the Youth League. No, that is correct. It's equal you. So Malema and his constituency shouldn't just be contested. I'm saying we must be mobile in the campuses. But at the same time, you don't need money to control social media and drive a positive agenda about the revolution. This NEC of the Youth League alone, this number on Twitter, full blown, you can control the narrative positively for the movement and contest the battle of ideas. If I post on Twitter, I'm insulted by about 50 people and they influence the agenda. By end of the day, I'm trending negatively. Or even the president, or even your own president, negatively. And it's not the tap and the lick zip way, as the Germans will call it, switch off and on. You've got to be there all the time. So the negative narrative must change. It's all in our hands. Why such a massive youth organization is not in charge of the narrative? Comrades, narrative is not going to be changed by socialites and celebrities. It's going to be changed by how you lead and influence the discourse in the platforms I'm talking about. Jacob Zuma's party was dominant on TikTok because its narrative was coming out of Dubai by the Guptas, influencing society about Zuma and MK party, and they were powerful. And they've just now subsided at the present moment. But you'll see them close to elections, you wouldn't know where they come from. All of a sudden, everybody forgot that Jacob Zuma was responsible for state capture. And we think when we go to public platforms and talk about him, we will win the discourse. It's not possible. We're just making him popular. But if we remain on our terrain, you heard the president when he was addressing the global progressive movement, socialist movement in Europe. The things he was saying there are powerful for the progressive forces. But how do they land? And who controls the narrative from there? It should be us. So we can't cry foul. And when I compare you with the EFF, I don't mean in terms of ideas. I mean in terms of the size and the attack on the youth, particularly working class youth. You are equal. And you should be dominant in that particular terrain. There are more than 17 million people on social grants, but they don't vote. And they don't vote the ANC. You get into their houses, mobilize them to vote, and you ask them, how do you survive out of this poverty? They say, kamudende. Social grants. But have you registered to vote? No. I've got 4 kids in a household, and each kid have got the father and they all disappeared. So how do you look after these kids, mama? I am living on a government social security net.